I first saw you at the cafe, at the end of that alley. Do you remember you sat there saying nothing, just smiling? The moment my gaze met your smile, the noise of the world fell away. There was no one outside the window, only your side profile reflected in the glass. I sipped your Julo and my coffee, taking you in breath by breath. You were as light as that drifting smoke, and your smile as fleeting as a spark. Yet it spread through me, a warmth that never faded. Beyond the veil of smoke you smiled, and I fell into love right then. You, unaware, left only a trace sitting there with that quiet smile. Time passed, but that scene stayed the same. The cafe vanished, people moved on, but that single smile still lives deep in the center of my chest. Just a passing illusion, but I know the air of that day, the scent, and even the look in your eyes. Though you disappeared like the smoke, your smile returns to me each night. The love was brief, but the memory refuses to fade. That afternoon when you smiled, my life had already changed. Beyond the cigarette smoke, I still see you now. Kept your word inside. Sometimes you nodded slightly, sometimes your lips parted, only to close again. Then suddenly you'd glance at my hair and smile. I thought that was your hello. I believed it meant you cared, so I waited, thinking you'd call my name one day. Even in crowded streets you never waved to me, not even a quiet there you are. It was always me who came to you, and you behaved as if I was supposed to be there. Always, still, I was happy just to be beside you. I simply mistook that for love. Just once you could have said Maria instead of just you. If my name had escaped your lips even once, I might forgiven everything. You never called my name among all the words you spoke. Not once did you call out to me. I was your nameless lover, the one beside you, but never truly acknowledged. The season we shared left no letters, no photographs, only the sky from the day and your silent gaze remain. You left me without ever calling my name. Now when someone calls my name, I no longer turn my head, because it was never spoken by your voice. I realize now how desperate I was for it. You never once said my name, and I all the while loved you only through that name. In the air you left behind, in the time we shared, there was never a single word that meant me. Even now when someone calls me, I ask myself quietly, did that person ever say my name even once? I am the one who only wanted to hear myself from your lips just once. You always ate slowly. Even the way you held your fork was careful. I used to think that was beautiful among all the dinners we shared. Did we know that this one would be the last? You filled my glass again, and I smiled quietly. Neither of us said a word, but we both knew what was happening. The silence on our table was heavier than any dish we were served. Should I finish the wine still in my glass, or should I just stand and walk away? Even that we couldn't decide, because our time had settled right where our love had ended. The Last Supper with you, that spoon, that plate, that glass, everything hinted at goodbye. I looked down and you looked out the window. That quiet table was the final space we shared. Our fingertips almost touched but didn't. Once we embraced, once we kissed, but that evening just watching each other in silence was all we had left. The remnants on the table were more honest than our words. A damp napkin napkin, half-eaten bread, a plate gone cold. They all whispered, this is the end. The Last Supper with you felt like a funeral for our love. We lifted our last spoonfuls like a ritual of farewell. When I stood up from my seat, you only nodded without saying a word. That final evening you didn't leave me a name, only a faint trace in the air, and I didn't cry because all our tears had already been spilled on the table. That evening, the candlelight on the table trembled softly. You turned your glass slowly with your fingertips, as if about to say something, then didn't. I didn't ask, I already knew the answer, that once we emptied this glass, something between us would end. Your glass was already empty, while mine was still half full. I brought it to my lips and left a kiss on the rim, deliberate, lingering. It was a goodbye, but you only looked down, pretending not to see. Looking at the mark my lips had left on the glass, you quietly touched that spot with your finger, rubbing it away, as if our love too could be erased so easily. I left my final kiss on a wine glass and walked away without turning back. The red mark I left was all that remained, a memory of love unspoken but understood. Since then, whenever I see a glass of wine, I instinctively search for that same spot to kiss, where your silence once rested. I press my lips again onto that forgotten edge, knowing well it no longer matters. Love ended not with words, but with a deeper kiss, not with names, but with a trace we both knew wouldn't last. All that remained was a glass that hadn't cooled yet. I left a final kiss on that wine glass, accepting your wordless farewell. The faint red stain was the end of our love and the beginning of silence. Even now, when someone else kisses my lips, they cannot replace the place you erased. I still search for you inside the rim of that wine glass from long ago. Love doesn't always leave us shouting. Sometimes it lingers on a rim kissed just once. each other in stillness. The coffee between us was still warm, but your eyes no longer followed its warmth. I tried to speak as I always did, but instead you turned your face away. I didn't know what had changed or when we started drifting, but your silence said everything neither of us dared to say aloud. I asked, are we okay? You gave a faint smile and said only it just got hard. Then you placed your hand quietly on the table. In that moment I knew your heart had already left for somewhere I couldn't follow. I was still holding on, but you were already letting go. That day you stood up without a word, and in that very instant something inside me cracked. A soundless break, louder than any goodbye. You pulled the trigger of goodbye. I wasn't ready, but you ended us without hesitation. No tears, no farewell, only silence, and my chest bruised from the echo of that shot. You didn't say you'd be back, didn't leave me a sliver of waiting, just looked at me with the eyes of someone already gone. So I didn't ask again, the bullet had already left the barrel, and I was the one left lying there. My heart, my love, ended at your fingertips. No point in asking now who let go first or why you ended it so quietly. I already know, but still I wanted to hear it from you. Yes, you pulled the trigger of goodbye, and with that single shot I let all my seasons fall away. Our story stopped, but that moment replays every night. Your fingertips still reaching for the trigger. In my memory, love doesn't always die with shouting. Sometimes it ends in absolute quiet. And what hurts more than the gunshot is the silence that rips through my chest afterward. I still remember your hand pulling the trigger that ended us. You walked into the dark before the light had even faded. I didn't know it was our last festival when your hand held mine with a chill I'd never felt before. I blamed the breeze, thought the night was just colder than usual. Lanterns swayed and the music kept playing, but your eyes were already looking somewhere I couldn't follow. The streets smelled of candied fruit, of roasted corn and cinnamon. Children ran with balloons in hand. We strolled among them, laughing like everyone else. But I felt it, your heart slowly stepping away from the glow, from me. That night I believed until the end that even after the last firework we would remain. That love, unlike celebration, doesn't just end with the light. But you disappeared just as the festival did. Not a single word of goodbye, just your back fading into the brightness. Like that night you never returned, we never returned. Since then, on the same date each year, I walk that street again. I watch the same fireworks bloom, searching for your silhouette in the sparks. I breathe the same air that once held your leaving, but that night never comes again, and neither do you. Maybe you don't even remember that festival, but to me, that night was our last scene, the final flicker of whatever we were. Night of the festival that never returned, our love buried somewhere in its embers. The lights are long gone, people have moved on, but I still walk the echo of that music to where you once stood. The fireworks vanished into the sky. Love remained only inside my chest. Tell me, in that brief glow under the lanterns, was any of it real? I believed the festival was you. On a sheet of paper, I wrote your name. My trembling hand already knew it was the last. The ink stayed wet with tears, and quietly I folded the page over your name. Each letter pressed gently, your name fell to light. Too many days to be held by one sheet of paper. I couldn't fit it all inside, so I cried with every fold. You felt farther away. The ink smudged and so did my heart. I never wrote corner once more, afraid the wind might take it. I held the paper tight with both hands. Inside it were you and me, and what we once were. If I called out your name, I thought I'd break, so I didn't. Instead I quietly left a single tear on the final line. I folded your name with tears, no letter, no voice, no goodbye, just one piece of paper hiding our farewell. Love was never written, only folded. If someone asks, I'll say it's just an old note. Only I will know you're still inside. I don't have the courage to unfold it, but maybe someday far from now you'll fold a paper like I did. Your name was my last prayer, my longest dream, and in the end, as though that it was you, I folded your name more than 1,000 times, with tears, with wind, with kisses, and at the very end sealed it in a white envelope without a word. If I don't say your name, maybe it'll hurt less, so I just called you you, and today again I fold once more your name. Your name. The guitar was still there, leaning against the wall where you used to sit. It didn't say a word, but it was louder than any goodbye. We had started speaking less, even our glances missed each other. But your guitar, you always held it like a part of your body. So when you left it behind, I understood. I haven't touched it since. My hands wouldn't dare. The strings were still tight, the pick still warm with your shape. Only a thin film of dust settled, but not a single sound escaped. Did the guitar know it had become a letter of farewell? You didn't say a word, but I knew when love ends, people leave behind what they cherish the most, as if they couldn't carry it through the pain. You left your guitar behind, the most you think I ever knew. Left it quietly, without asking me to understand. It wasn't a farewell, it was a song cut short in the silence. So Sometimes I look at it and whisper, maybe today you'll speak again. But those strings have chosen silence. It has become a song that will never be played again. You left the warmth of your hands in the wooden string, and I, touching it, learned how cold an ending could feel. You left your guitar and you left no words, not remember me, not forget me. So now it is only in front of that guitar that I ever let myself cry. Now I know that final song has been played, but its last note still rings inside me, soft as a wound, loud as love. You left your guitar behind, and the music has never stopped. The wind in Tijuana didn't feel unfamiliar. Your cigarette smoke, the trace of wine on my lips, and the silence before goodbye, they all blend into the breeze and past. We were walking in the direction of the wind, no words, no hands held, just side by side. And I could feel something in the way the air touched my skin, as if my chest knew what my heart couldn't say. You shielded your eyes from the sun, and I pulled my collar close. That silent moment is still the clearest one to me. The car exhaust, the spices from street vendors, all of it carried a trace of you. That day the wind brushed my back first, and you smiled without a care. The wind took your smile away, and I knew even then it was the end. The wind in Tijuana remembers the scent of that day, even without words. Memory lingers as fragrance, a whisper of goodbye on the breeze. And still, when that wind returns, so do you. Even after years, the same streets, the same breeze, the same shadows. When someone walks past me, I still sometimes turn my head, wondering if it's you. But it's always just the wind. The wind of that day still holds what I remember. Goodbyes aren't always spoken, sometimes they remain in the air. Your last breath a silent farewell. They stayed with the wind. Even today, the wind finds me again. And once more, I walk through that day. I thought I had let go, but the scent of that moment still makes me weep. The wind in Tijuana still knows everything from that day. The sky hadn't yet decided its dawn color, and I was still sitting there without a blanket, gazing at the place where you had been. In that spot, a trace of warmth hovered like breath, quiet and barely visible. Dawn in Oaxaca was unusually still. No bell sounds beyond the window, no whispers from the street market. In this room where you had rested, only a breath remained. I inhaled it slowly, as if your final words still lingered in the air. Tomorrow I won't be here. The sheet still held the fold of your weight, and the coffee cup bore your fading lip print. I waited for morning in a room stripped of your presence, and yet full of it. Time passed slowly, and the dawn kept tracing the air you had left behind. I held my breath, afraid yours might vanish too. Just a little longer, stay with me until the wind arrives and carries you away. In the Oaxaca dawn, your breath still remained before the sunlight crossed the window. I saw you in that invisible warmth. Memories were still soft, and goodbye hadn't yet begun. When the sun finally reached the sill, I knew everything would disappear. Still, I didn't draw the curtain, not yet, because in this room you were still here. Breath leaves no trace, and yet I felt it as if it had weight, as if it had love. Don't vanish just yet. You are the last warmth I hold. They say people leave, but breath lingers. Maybe you'll never know, but I'm still here, living inside the air you left behind. Even if dawn returns to Oaxaca again, your breath stays with me. Even when that you were once inside me. Paper flower boat drifts across the water. The breeze smells like that day's laughter. You and I, two silhouettes, slowly pulling apart on the mirrored surface of the river. The canals of Xochimilco never said a word, but I remembered everything. The way your eyes shimmered in the water, the warmth of your hand in mine on that soft afternoon. You told me, let's come back here someday. But I already knew, I knew it was the last. So I memorized the ripples as if they were lines from your face. On that flower-decked Trajanera, we didn't speak much. Do you remember? The sound of the guitar, the scent of roasted corn, the breeze brushing past our fingertips. You were smiling, I was already crying inside, because I knew, like this river, you too would flow past me. You were the one moving on, I was the one staying behind that river. It must have known our love was sailing toward its final bend. Memory flows along Xochimilco River. Your laughter, you're fading back, trembles still on the water skin. And here I am, adrift above that same current, still calling your name. People around us were singing, but my heart had already grown quiet. You held my hand one last time, and I captured your warmth in my palm, like a message in a bottle. I set adrift on the river, I don't know where that bottle went, but inside it I had written, I loved you. Even after time has passed, the river still remembers that day's tide. All the stories I couldn't tell you, Xochimilco carries them away. You may have forgotten, but I still walk on that river, barefoot in memory. Memory flows along Xochimilco River, cradling the day that cannot return. And I, slower than flowers, still let go of you. All the seasons that held you are still floating on that river's breath. Someday, even my voice will be carried off by the water. The voice that once called your name will be soaked and silenced without anyone knowing. But still I whisper your name one last time. River, if you can reach it, The water is already half gone. Inside a single rose, silent yet singing through each day. The rose you left behind is still in bloom. I never changed the water, I just looked at it. I didn't notice it was wilting, didn't realize its scent had faded. I held my breath, afraid even air would make it disappear. In the mornings it basked in sunlight, in the evenings it sat in shadows. When people came I wanted to say, don't touch the rose, because when you returned I wanted it to be just as you left it, not a single petal missing. You might have thought it was just a decoration, but through that rose I waited for you. Through that rose I held on to love. A single rose singing of waiting. It said nothing yet spoke to me each day. Once again, you didn't come today. Those quiet words held up my heart. People said it was dead. I said no, its color had simply changed with longing. Its scent had grown faint because the love had deepened. And so I learned to make excuses and endure time without you. One day when the rose had completely dried, oh, I still didn't empty the bottle, so that if you return you might remember it. I left the place untouched where the waiting used to be. Only silence remains now. The rose that once sang of waiting is gone, but its song still echoes inside me. Once again, you didn't come today. And now that quote refrain is how I comfort myself. The rose is gone, but the waiting continues. Even if you never return, I will not stop the song. At that same windowsill I will place another rose, and I will wait again for the season named you. Like uneven stones on a street that remembers us. The tempo is off, but my heart keeps replaying the pace we used to share. Though love has stopped, I haven't. We ended our dance, but my steps still follow the music of that night. When the wind calls your name, I stumble like a tango. I paused, leaning against a wall. Then I heard your laugh, faint, familiar, but it wasn't you, it was memory, looping a moment I've played too many many times on these same streets that last night we danced. Your feet hesitated, my gaze trembled, and in that single moment the rhythm cracked just slightly, enough to start the break. I'm still walking in the rhythm of broken love. The notes are scattered, the beat is gone, but the tempo of you lives in my legs, pushing me along that same old path. People pass me by, I blend in, pretending I've forgotten, pretending I'm fine. But every time I bump into your rhythm, your presence hidden in every crack of the street. The song we left behind never really stopped. Even after you left, the streets kept playing, discordant, broken, but still, to me, it's beautiful. Today again, I walk in the rhythm of broken love. The beat doesn't fit anymore, but I still reach for your invisible hand, one step at a time, chasing your shadow down this melody of the dance is over, the music has stopped, but my body remembers the rhythm called love. And even now, that rhythm keeps me walking. The deeper the night becomes, the quieter my lips grow. And the quieter they get, the clearer your name sounds. Even without saying it, my lips remember. Today again, I called your name in a whisper, too faint for anyone to hear, like a habit, like a breath, as if your name were still part of my daily life. I don't say it in front of others, but the moment I'm alone, my lips move without hesitation, searching for you. I said I'd forgotten you, those words left my mouth, but my lips, they refuse to listen. I've been trying at least, but my lips have forgotten nothing. They remember our laughter, the way you called me, the warmth of your voice. My lips remember it all. Calling someone's name isn't just sound, it's an act of bringing them back into your heart. That's why I hold back the words and bite down on silence instead. Still my lips call out to you in sudden moments. Your name wets my tongue again, like a kiss that brushed once and never left. Even if I forget fell first. That's when I realized the love may be over, but the calling wasn't. Will there ever be a day my lips don't call you? Or will your name become the last memory etched in their curve? I don't know, but I do know my lips loved you longer than I did. So even today my lips still call you the name I hide in words they bring back. Like a reflex, calling hurts, but not calling hurts more. A strange remnant of love. If someday my lips stop calling your name, that'll be the true ending. But now, not yet. My lips still remember you longer than my heart, deeper than my tears. Without a sound, in a time where everything paused, we were there in the very middle of it all. I leaned gently on your shoulder, and you simply breathed in silence. No words, no glances, nothing passed between us, but in that stillness we could feel each other more deeply than ever. The world felt far, far away. It was like only the two of us remained that night. Moonlight flowed like a river and touched the tips of our feet. In that moment, we no longer needed to call each other's names. Even words like "it's okay" weren't necessary that night. You became my rest, and I became yours. Our silence was all the language we needed. There was a quiet in the moonlight, and we were right in the middle of it. A love that needed no words, time that flowed like it had stopped, and within it we felt as though we were forever bound together. Only after that night passed did I realize moments like that never come back. But memory still brings that quiet into my chest, unfolding it like a page I return to again and again. I dream of that night again, calling us back into the quiet like then. I hold you with my heart as you sit beside me, saying nothing, yet saying everything. That stillness in the moonlight, it still calls out to me at the center of it. We existed in a moment that keeps breathing inside me. Now I can say it, yes, that was love. The moonlight has gone and the night has passed, but that silence lives on inside on the stone road. The iron wheels jolted forward. Farewell passed through my chest like that, rattling heavy and without pause. It was midday. You kept going, never looking back. The sun was unbearably weighty that day. I couldn't say a word. Your back grew distant like a disappearing carriage, its wheel tracks carved into my heart. That vibration still echoes inside me. I didn't try to stop you, I just stood there, completely still doing nothing but letting you go. Someone once said goodbyes are decided not by words but by speed, and it was true. You were too fast, and I couldn't take a single step. Instead of saying don't go, I closed my eyes, even with my ears covered. I could hear the clang of metal, the rattle of wheels, the whoosh of the wind you left behind. Sounds that cracked open my heart. Goodbye passed through me like a carriage, rumbling, shaking, raising dust in silence, leaving nothing behind but the space where you once sat, now vanishing into distance. Now I trace the remains in the track of those wheels. Pain that refuses to fade still blooms. That's how love ended, and even now I wander along that rail in my chest, where your leaving once ran. Goodbyes come for everyone, but only those pierced by it have truly loved. And me, I carry that carriage inside my chest. That's how I learned what love was. Farewell won't return, but the sound of it still resounds inside me. The carriage that took you away, if it passed through me once more, would I be able to hold on this time? After the last jolt, only stillness remains, and in that stillness I call out to you again. The carriage is long gone. I haven't moved, but my heart, it's still running after it. An alley no one walked for years, cracked bricks, dust in the corners, and there a single yellow flower bloomed. It reminded me of you, your smile on a spring day. I thought I forgot. I thought it was long gone. I believed I had forgotten everything. Your name, your voice, your gaze, buried, sealed, finished. But walking past that old alley, suddenly your silhouette returned to me. The moments I had ignored now bloom like petals I never touched. You once leaned against that wall and smiled. Rain had left stains on the ground. The scent of our walk still floated there. I thought it had all vanished, but memory, it grows where forgetting pretends to live. I stopped and knelt by that flower. Love was still there, breathing softly, never once asking for attention, just waiting. Memory blooms like a flower in a forgotten alley. No care, no witness, yet full of scent and stubborn life. Maybe love is just that, a thing we live through, even when we claim we've let it go. The days I thought were behind me came walking back and asked, are you really alright? And I couldn't answer. I just looked at the flower as if it held my reply. Love didn't die, it only stayed silent. Memory wasn't buried, I just closed my eyes. That alley, it waited for me without ever complaining. Memory doesn't beg to be found, it waits in the alley, blooming, a flower without an audience. But the moment you turn back, longing returns, alive and breathing. Now I understand, that flower was my forgotten heart. That alley was the part of me still willing to bloom for love. Memory like love never truly leaves. Evening sunlight streamed through the curtain slits. There was no music, yet I tilted my body as if you were there. You had been gone for some time, but somehow your shadow lingered in the room. Beneath the bed, beside the door, near my feet, traces of warmth still soaked into the floor. I quietly rose, knelt and reached out my hand. The shadow said nothing, but I knew you were watching me. No music was playing, no stage beneath my feet. Yet I danced with your shadow, with you. Your smile, your breath, your warmth became clearer than ever. Though you left, your memory has no weight. That's why it visits me so easily, lightly sitting on my shoulder, even that weightless presence I loved. I danced with your shadow without a name, without sound. It was our final choreography of love. Turning, turning, confessing my heart through movement. The shadow never answered, but it was enough for me. Outside evening settled in, and your shadow faded slowly. Still I did not stop, not until you vanished completely. With both arms and my whole heart, I embraced what remained of you. The shadow disappeared into the light, and I was left in the dark. But at my fingertips, your warmth still lingered. The dance might end, but love doesn't have to. Again, I dance with your shadow on nights when my heart breaks quietly. When memory guides my feet, the dance goes on, because love never truly ends. Now I understand that dance with your shadow was actually your last embrace. You weren't there, but I was still in your arms. Again, I dance with your shadow. The song I heard yesterday plays again from the same corner of the day. I pause mid-sip of coffee as time falls around the melody. Every morning I sit by the window, watching light stretch across the floor. As always, you're not here, yet memory pulls out the chair across from me and takes its place like it belongs. The song you once sang keeps catching on my lips. I never tried to memorize the lyrics, but somehow every line drenches me again and again. I never try to forget, it's just that memory became both the start and end of my day. Memory repeats the same song each day, from the day you left to today, without pause, softly, slowly, but with unwavering certainty. It hums along the edges of my life. clear skies. The melody never wavers. Even in chaos, it finds its way to my ears and stills me. The song starts the day before I even open my eyes. No radio, no TV, yet I hear your voice from nowhere. Maybe memory is the oldest instrument I possess, the most perfect melody you ever left behind. Memory sings yesterday's song again today. As the day ends, I imagine your tomorrow and fall asleep leaning into that same refrain. Now I know forgetting isn't silence, it's singing the same song with different words and beginning again. We hadn't spoken for a while. Too many memories, and our hearts were worn out long before. Still, we stayed, knowing it was the end, but pretending not to. You silently packed your bag, and I opened the curtain without a word. The sunlight was calm, but the air in the room was heavy. It felt like we were both hiding a truth we already knew too well. Even a simple take care felt too light to carry our goodbye. I tried to smile, you turned your head, and in that moment I knew this love wasn't something I could leave behind. It was something I would carry with me. When our hands touched, I collapsed inside, and you didn't step back either. In the end, I held you and cried. All the words I had buried poured out as tears. When I felt your back trembling, only then did I whisper that I had loved you. It was winter outside, but inside us the seasons had stopped. Even knowing we couldn't go back, I kept shouting in my heart, stay a little longer. But only in silence. My lips trembled without a sound. All the time we spent together wasn't in words, wasn't in photographs. It was in this final moment of tears, and I held every second of us all at once in that one embrace. In the end, I held you and cried, and in that moment all the goodbyes in the world seemed to pause. Only we existed in love, in grief, in truth. Before the door closed, I whispered, "Not, don't go." But everything that phrase ever meant was in the way. I held you with tears, with love, with